From Times Square, the crossroads of the world, it's All Night with Joey Reynolds. I'm Big Jay Sorensen from 101.1 CBS FM. Our guest tonight, former head writer of the Howard Stern Show, one of the funniest guys around, Jockey the Joke Man Martling. Another funny guy, stand-up comic Dave Koenig. Author of Girlfriends 2.0, Cindy Morrison. The creator of the Divine Intervention series, Dan Fazzina. Survivor of the Rwanda massacre, Immaculee Ilibagiza. And tonight's musical guest, cabaret artist and Broadway entertainer, Rosemary Lore.
Immaculee Ilibagiza. That's how I say your name.
Yeah,
very, very beautiful young lady who, when I first met her, I guess it was the late 90s, 98, 99 or something like that.
94, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Was it?
the genocide,
When we first
yeah.
met, was it that?
Oh no, 2000.
Yeah, I met you around,
2007.
yeah, right after you came here with Wayne Dyer.
Yeah.
You know, there's Immaculate's story, which your story, to bring everybody up to speed, because they may not be familiar. You had lived in your pastor's house, I believe, and church.
Yeah.
With your, first of all, there was a great killing of many people. How many people got killed in Rwanda?
A million people.
A million?
Yeah.
A million people were killed.
In a period of 3 months.
And just for what they called what? What was the reason?
Because they're from one tribe called Tutsi. And I was from that tribe. So when the whole thing started, my parents told me to go to hide to a pastor's house.
All right, so they wanted, your parents wanted you to hide.
Yeah.
And they also got killed.
They were killed. They didn't know how bad it was going to be. We suspected, but we didn't know how bad it can be. So I was one girl among 3 boys. They wanted to protect me so they know I'm safe. They sent me. I never saw them again.
And all saved in your family was your brother because he wasn't around.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes. Everyone else who I left behind was
Were
killed.
all killed. But your brother had left the country.
Yeah.
So he wasn't there for this.
He
Now you
was-
lived in a house. Now this is so, I mean, it's unbelievable. You lived in a house for, was it 90 days? Was it?
91 days.
All right. And you could not make a sound
No.
because they would discover you and you would be killed.
Yes.
How many people were there in that bathroom?
We were 8 people, 8 women.
8 women.
Yeah.
And you couldn't flush the toilet except if they made sounds
Even
on another.
on another toilet behind.
Yeah, when they did that, then you could do it because then they would not be on to you that there's someone else in the hall.
Exactly.
Or in
because-
the house.
Yeah. This man who was a Protestant pastor, he told his children that he lost the key of that bathroom. And he had 10 children. So no one knew that we were in the house except him. And his wife had passed away. So we had to be quiet 100%. If anything moves, we were risking to be dead.
Well, who was in the house to know that? Were there soldiers in the house?
He was there and his kids, and the kids were talking to people all the time.
I see.
And he has house boys who were working in his house, and they would come around the bathroom to sneak out to see if there's anyone there, because people were hiding places. But there's one time, a week after the genocide started, the government gave order to start going home by home to search if anyone was hiding. So that was the height of our pain. When the people in each village, they had a group of 300 people who will go home by home and search in the ceiling of the house, on the top of the house, under the beds, closets, and they will check, of course, in the bathrooms. But somehow, by a miracle of God, they never came in that bathroom.
Now, you were like an African Anne Frank in that regard.
That's what people say.
You know, I mean, well, there are
Yeah.
several. You know,
Yeah.
Diary of Anne Frank, there are several people who have
Definitely.
escaped the villains in these terrible situations.
Yeah.
And you had a Bible.
I
right?
did, yes.
And you lived with that. I mean, all you did was you read your scriptures and kept sane, I guess. with
Yeah,
that.
because we were quiet. For 3 months, we had to be quiet.
Yeah.
So I asked the man to give me the Bible. All I did was praying, asking God questions. Why are we here? Why this is happening? And somehow, I got my life from the Bible. I am with you. Don't be scared. Forgive. Let go. Love no matter what. I felt like God was there talking to me through the Bible.
So you continued your spirit but your body shut down.
Yeah, I would not have been here today if I have not come back to God to ask Him to really feed my soul from that. 3 months in silence, you go crazy.
How old were you?
I was 23.
And that was how long ago now? So I'm doing the math here.
You're doing the math. 16 years ago.
Was it 16 years?
Yeah.
Now, you know, I met you through Wayne Dyer.
Yes.
And Wayne and I are good friends, of course. And Wayne
Great
had,
man.
he's a great guy. He also published your book, right? Did he? Or,
Yeah, we met by, I will say, but not accident, coincidence, you know, from God, I would say. I have just finished writing my book 3 days before, and I met him like that online when people were signing, he was signing his books. And when I reached him, he like, where do you come from? I told him I'm from Rwanda, and he stopped me. He asked me what happened, where he was, and I told him a little bit about what happened. But I remember at the end, he was like, what makes you yourself after what you have seen? And I was talking, just joking, like, well, there is God. Life moves on. We have to keep going and every day. And I remember he looked at me and he said, he asked me, have you thought about writing a book? And I'm like, I just finished 3 days before. And I couldn't tell him I finished. But I remember at the end of the conversation, which lasted 2 minutes, he said, I promise, when you finish writing your book, I will publish it. And he kept his word.
And you had three books now, is it?
I have 3 books now.
Yeah.
I'm on my fourth one.
I met you with the first one, and
Yes.
Wayne called me one day, and he was, I don't think he even began the PBS series yet. I mean, I've known him for years anyway. You know, he was my therapist. Did you know that?
Yeah, I know. You joked a lot when we went
I
all together.
was the last guy to see him professionally. Yeah. He took the shingle down after I told him about my divorce. That was the end of it. But you know, he's a great guy, but he put himself second to you. He always puts himself last anyway. That's what I like about him so much.
Too, yeah.
But you know, when he called me, he says, oh, you don't want to talk to me, you want to talk to Immaculee. I says, Immaculee? He says, yeah, Immaculee Ilibagiza. I'm saying your name right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And he says, I couldn't even say it then. You know, I said, what? You know, it sounded Italian.
Yeah.
And he said, you've got to talk to her. She's a genius with survival. And he said, but it's more than survival. He said, it's a spirit that goes on, that is in us forever. You know, it's the soul. And he started to describe, and of course, you know, then I met you. But, and it's an inspiration for me to be in your presence because you have done the thing that most of us, I can't say for most of us, the thing that I would have the hardest time doing, which is to be quiet, as you know.
I know how hard it was.
And also to not complain, which is part of being quiet.
You know, throughout, it was almost like I was growing. I came out almost feeling like I was 100 years. You know, everything in life almost makes sense. And I did describe a lot in my first book, Left to Tell. I described a lot about
what was it called again? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Left to Tell.
Left to Tell.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is because people will want to hear that, and I want to repeat it.
Sure, yeah. So that really, for me, and why I wanted to write and tell people, just like to go through life in that horrible way. And then that when you discover more, that's when you understand what forgiveness is. When you understand what evil is, why they are doing that. And it was really such a healing for me to write it. Sure. But I'm so happy to have inspired so many people to let go the anger, to put things in perspective. Because many people, as we do today, have to still think about my story also. We go through something small and it can easily crush us. Yeah. But when you somehow see that other people can go through even worse, somehow you can be peaceful now and realize that it can get worse.
Well, you got to believe there's another life.
Really, I don't know how people do without believing that.
I wouldn't. You can't think that there's nowhere to go after this.
I know.
Especially you want to see your folks again.
Definitely.
Honestly.
I felt I have had many dreams. I mean, it's dreams, but dreams that really left me with a good feeling in my life. And to this day, 16 years later, I still have it. Just where my parents come and say, "Don't worry, just live your best life now. Love, forgive, trust God. We will see each other." And I remember those and I smile. And that's what I want to tell people when I speak to them in the public. I just want to tell people, don't worry.
And I've seen you. I've seen you in public too. I've seen you.
Yeah.
You know. Now, are you doing a film? Is that what we have here?
Yes, they are. They are doing
a film. This is a movie about your life?
They are moving.
Or is it one part of it, or what?
No, the whole movie, whole 9 years, they're making it.
It's here? Is it done?
Not yet. They are shooting in June.
But we have a clip.
We have a documentary, they did a documentary, and we have a clip.
What is this from? This is this available somewhere? Can you buy this documentary?
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon from Hay House. They published it.
Okay, same publishers as
Yeah,
as
same
your books.
publisher. Yeah.
And what's it called? What's this called?
The Diary of Immaculee.
The Diary of
Yeah.
Immaculee.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we going to show a little bit of this here? Is there anything we should know before we set it up? Should we?
One thing I found, again, I said my story. I shared with the world, of course, through my speakings and my book. But one thing I realized that people get from that, not really what I wanted to say, is especially people get forgiveness. Everyone said, I was mad with my mom for 5 years, for 10 years, or with my father, and I had to call them back after I read your book, or after I heard you speak, or I saw the movie, the documentary. So we can see it, but mostly I pray that people will continue to understand that if I can forgive, anyone can. And it is possible. Forgiveness is possible.
And you begin where you are. Mother Teresa said that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's begin. Let's show the clip here. Okay, here's Immaculee.
I saw Immaculee back in her own home area. And she says to the photographer, hey, come and take a picture of me with this man. And I'm asking her, who's this man? And she explains to me, well, his brother killed my brother. And I'm like, wait, you know, my Western mind is kicking in and I got to understand who, what, the details and stuff. And she just puts her arm around him and she says, no, it's okay. It's okay. I just about lost it because it's not okay. For her to take the time and to visit these places with people like us and let us share in some of that grief and some of that process takes unimaginable courage.
I did hate, of course. I was very angry. I couldn't understand how another human being can cause you so much pain. Why? We were all created. We never chose to be who we become. We don't choose our race. We don't choose our tribe. We don't even choose a country where we are born. And I thought that I can pay them back for what they were doing to me. And thank God, I was able to see that that was useless. That was only going to prolong the pain and hatred in this world.
Well, here we are in our studio in Times Square. And Immaculee, those pictures you're showing over there, that certainly is not Long Island.
No, no.
Now we're joined by Daniel Fazzina. Now, Dan has been a friend of the show, and he's written a series called Divine Intervention. Yes. And these are stories of God's miracles. Of course, you are a miracle. I think I am too, frankly.
We are.
I think every day is filled with miracles. I think they come in sizes to some people, but to me, there's no size. A miracle is a miracle. I don't think it's a big one or a little miracle. It's a miracle, that's all. Now, Daniel, have you met Immaculee before?
Yes, actually, she's one of the people featured in my book that I got to interview and have on my radio show, and she's just an amazing lady.
Where's your radio show?
The radio show airs in Long Island, New York. That's our flagship station. It also airs in Connecticut, Pennsylvania, and Illinois right now.
What is it, on the internet or on the over-the-air?
Well, both, actually.
You can plug it. I mean, I'm trying to...
Yeah, sure. Divine Intervention Radio is the website. You can you know, hear all the first-hand testimonies of people who've experienced miracles. And Joey, I think you and I have one of the best jobs in the world. We get to interview fascinating people, and on my show, many of them have phenomenal stories of how God has intervened in their lives in some way or another, and it's very refreshing and it's very inspirational. So I just love it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know that I probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for the work that I have to do. You know, I believe that. I think we're only here for what we have to do, sure, and for what we have to learn to do what we have to do. So that's my little piece. And I mean, not everybody's the same. Some don't believe that and agree with it. I mean, is your station Christian station?
Yeah, my show
airs on Christian. Is it Salem Broadcasting, or is it other than that?
No, there's several different independent stations that it airs on, but they are Christian stations.
Well, I used to listen to, in L.A., there were James Dobson at one time. And people think he's a minister, and he was a psychologist, you know, not a minister at all. But he had focus on the family in the earlier days. I go so far back with him that he had a 16mm film. And I really liked what he was saying. And then he got a little bit into the whole other area of controversy, which I don't like when we get into controversy over God's work.
Sure.
And that's the part that I love about Mother Teresa. She knocked it off. And you know, I mean, I don't mean it in a crude way.
No, it's all right.
But also Wayne Dyer, you know, we're talking about Wayne here. Wayne has backed off a bit, you know, because he got bigger than the message. And it's an interesting move, you know. There's some people are the message.
Right.
And some people are supposed to be bigger than the message. You know, maybe Moses was not supposed to be bigger than the Ten Commandments, you know. And he stuttered.
Yeah, I know. And God used him in a powerful way.
Yeah, I mean, we all have our human frailties and flaws. I love the Bible because the Bible is us. It's all of us. It's everybody. It's all religions and it's human beings, right. You know. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed if you read the scriptures, and not for the ideology which people debate, but rather for the idea of the personalities and how everybody is something that you probably wouldn't expect as a saint.
You know, I used to debate a lot with my friends because, you know, we live in New York, let's face it, not the Bible Belt. There's a lot of skepticism and unbelief. And I realized that arguing people into the kingdom of heaven usually doesn't work. So that's why I started featuring testimonies. Like, this is what God did in my life. And hopefully it can point someone else to have faith, you know, just by sharing their story of a miracle, that God intervened in some way, you know, in a personal way.
What did you learn from Immaculee besides the story?
The story? Well, I learned about forgiveness and how forgiveness it's a very difficult thing in human terms, but with God's help, it's possible. I mean, if you look at Christ suffering on the cross and saying, you know, don't hold this sin against them, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, he was the ultimate example of forgiveness, and Immaculee learned that in, unfortunately, a very real and difficult way. But with God's help, she was able to forgive, and I think that's just amazing. I mean, I wouldn't have it in me in myself.
Well, we can get your Divine Intervention book, we can go online and we can see your work, and we can listen to your radio shows. Right?
I would welcome that, yes, thank you.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you so much, Joey. Good to be here.
And Immaculee, the movie, when's it coming out?
Well, hoping by the end of the year or beginning of next year.
All right,
they
so
are rushing.
up until then, we got your 3 books and we got your documentary tape from Hay House, right?
Yes, and
well, you know, people want to know where to go because this is short form. You know, I mean, we can't do your whole story here, and I know you a little bit, and I wanted to share you with the audience, and I also Daniel's work. I mean, you know, this is great to
definitely
to be able to put it in a few pages rather than you know, the many books it deserves.
We live to help one another, to inspire one another, and every work should give glory to God and to love neighbor. And this is just a beautiful book that really, you know, just touches the heart of people with these different stories.
I learned forgiveness after I got divorced. And I'm friends with my wife because, my ex-wife, I shouldn't say wife.
That's a miracle in itself. Many people can't do that.
She's a lovely lady and a very, very nice person. And she's you know, just a good person, and we talk to each other in a civil way. Maybe because there was no alimony. That would
that could help.
That could help. Was the money involved? All of a sudden, you know. Thank you for being here. Daniel, now what's the site again where we go? DivineInterventionRadio.com. And Immaculee, of course, is Immaculee.
Yeah, Hay House, and you would definitely help.
Thank you, guys. God bless you.
Thank you, thank you.
Come back. Or don't leave. You know, one or the other.
We'd love to be back for sure.
All right. And we're so happy to have you, honestly. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for your inspiration.
It was really nice to see you again.
And I forgive you for not coming sooner. See, forgiveness begins here. We'll be right back.
Love this set.